This hand of mine is burning red, and it tells me to grasp victory. And it also tells me to talk about Gundam! Woo! Hey guys! Hope you're all amazing, and if you are not, I hope my video puts a smile on your beautiful faces and makes you laugh. Sorry, not sorry for the intro, because I had the idea for the intro as soon as I got into the first few episodes of the anime we're going to be talking about today, and it really got stuck in my head. It gets stuck in your head with this series. We're going to be talking about Gundam. So last video I talked about an anime series, a new one, which was Bloom Into You. We're going old school for this one. We're going back to the 90s. Now, the 90s for me, for anime, is my favorite era of anime. I think that's honestly because of, obviously, shows like Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Rurouni Kenshin. Those were my, gateway into the 90s of anime. What I love most about the 90s anime is a level, it can be cliche, it can be predictable, but mostly it can have a lot of unexpectation. So a great example is The Vision of Escaflowne, which is one of my favorite anime of all time. If you've been around on this channel for long enough, I could talk about this series forever. That series over time has been an underlooked series for its themes, because all it says regarding the genres is that it is a mecha and fantasy, and you think there's nothing beyond that. And I realized that there was all these hidden underlining themes, which I've talked about in a video before, and I've dubbed The Vision of Escaflowne as an anime as more than what it seems, because it tackled, well, where we have war. It took the focus of a love triangle among the chaos. We have some psychological themes that run deep regarding the characters. Escaflowne pulled me into how 90s can just take on such complicated plots, make them so twistful and interesting. And that's what I love about 90s anime. Like, everything else is like a bonus for me. Like the dubs, the animation, it's just gold to me. This Gundam series that I watched all of last week was absolutely gold. And the reason I watched this particular series is I'm currently doing a Mecha March theme over on my blog, where I'm doing mecha related content, and a part of that was I chose 4 shows to watch and review for the month of March. So the first week, this Gundam series was chosen through a Twitter poll. That series was Mobile Fighter G Gundam. Now, I know some people are going to be really happy when they see this video, or me talking about this, because I have some male friends that were really hyping me up last year to finally see this series. And I did it, fellas. I did it. It's done. We're here. We're talking about it. Mobile Fighter G Gundam came out in 1994. It makes me so happy when I say that, it's from this time period. I'm weird like that. I don't know why. It just rings nostalgia. And it is by the studio Sunrise, as everybody knows, has done most of the Gundam series that we know today, of like Wing, Seed, Destiny, la 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 la. And this was directed by a guy that I have become a fan of in among the Gundam franchise. Just call him Yashihiro. He's worked on Gundams like Gundam Zeta, which I still need to see, and other mecha series, and I find his approach to Gundam really fascinating for what he is influenced by, and G Gundam is a great example of that. So G Gundam is the 5th installment of the Gundam franchise. So it was the 5th franchise to ever come to pass. And also the series is 49 episodes long, so this took me quite a bit to get through last week among life and stuff, but I did it. I was proud of myself. I finished it on Saturday night. I was left in tears, but yeah, we'll get to that. Regarding the plot of G Gundam, it is actually quite fascinating because Gundam plots, like Sea Destiny, or any of all of the Gundam series, they are stuck to with their plots known as the Universal Century, which means from the very first Gundam series that was ever made, which was Mobile Suit Gundam Origin, which was the very first series in the Gundam franchise. And then after that, all the Gundam series that follow that, they follow in a chronological order of chain of events. There's some of the Gundam series I know like hit or miss that don't, you know, keep in line with the actual Universal Century timeline. But yeah, so all of these Gundam series follow one off of the other. When I was watching like Gundam Unicorn, I know that if I had watched the Origin series, I would have an understanding of more of the backstory that was to do with Unicorn. So there's some series you have to go back in the Gundam franchise to get a full understanding of what is going on. But the best thing about G Gundam is that it doesn't even follow the Universal Century or any of that, the whole timeline. It is a self-contained plot on its own, and that was great diving into this series. So this series is set in a future century where Earth has been abandoned. All of the countries have all diverted into colonies. So we have like Neo-Japan, Neo-America. All nations agreed upon to avoid any war between any of the nations. They made Earth a battlefield, a tournament setting, because every 4 years a Gundam fight takes place, and each of the Neo countries sends the Gundam and a pilot to fight on their behalf, and whichever Gundam is left standing will have the right to rule all over the entire universe for 4 years, and then the whole cycle begins. So like there's this fairness. Like when I read up about the plot, it just immediately reminded me of the Olympics. Even though it's not the Olympics, it's more like a Gundam street fight, as my friend Jiro described best. Thanks, Jiro. And the plot focuses on a Neo-Japan fighter, which is Domon Kashu. And Domon, the only reason he became Japan's pilot or Gundam fighter was because he was in search of his brother. Brother has gone missing, and he ended up going down to Earth with a thing called the Dark Gundam. Which we will get into, as I said, in a little bit. I'm going to tell you right now that it goes beyond this. You think, oh, it's just a series following a tournament. Who's gonna win? Nothing interesting will happen. That's what I thought. But no. I was reminded when it comes to 90s anime series, they bring the unexpected, and G Gundam brought the unexpected. By God. So when I went into this series, the first few episodes confuse you. They throw you off thinking, what is going on? Because you first see Domon and his partner, because each of the fighters has a partner to aid them in the fight, and his childhood friend and also Dr. Rain. They're going around to different countries that they visit, and Domon, I realized then, was in search of his brother because he's following this photo that has all these different countries on the back, and he's like crossing them off each one. If he can't find what he's looking for, he moves on to the next one. So that might throw you off a little bit when you first get into the series. I certainly was. I'm like, what is going on? Why is he in different random countries fighting different random pilots? Like, I thought we were starting off with the tournament. That's not really a spoiler. It's not. It's just so that I think people, when they jump into this series, even in now, today, if they do, like me, they'll get thrown off. So that's an FYI for you guys. Later on, as we get deeper into the plot, everything begins to unfold. And before I go into any more, I'm just going to highlight the characters of this series. because one of my favorite things that I think G Gundam did extremely well, apart from the plot, was its characters. So we have our main character, Domon, who is... he's a handful. I enjoyed Domon as this series protagonist, and I did watch this series in the dub because 90s dubs, again, I love them no matter how terrible they are, but no, G Gundam's dub was actually, it was pretty half decent. Though I'd say one of the fighters' voices was a bit cringeworthy, but you know. But yeah, Domon as a protagonist, I enjoyed him, but he was very selfish, a little bit out of control with his anger, and he needed a lot of guidance during this series from the people in his life. And by God, he was lucky to have Rain with him. Rain's character, when she first appeared, I thought she was going to have a really squeaky, high-pitched voice, and I thought she was just going to be constantly, Domon, don't do that. I've seen characters like this in other Gundam series, like female characters, and it's really, really annoying. When her voice opened, like, it was really, like, poised, and she tried to keep Domo in line the whole time during the series. She was like his rock. And he was so goddamn lucky that he had her with him the whole time through what they went through. I loved Rain's character. I loved that she was sensible, is the word. Sensible, because Domon wasn't sensible. And I loved that was unexpected is that she pilots a Gundam of 2 or 3 times, which I loved seeing her take on that sort of thing. I'm like, yes, we need to see more female characters in Gundam do this. It was great. I loved this surprise about Rain's character. Also regarding Domon and Rain, there is a thing between them, but honestly nothing really happens until towards the end of the series. But yeah, there are feelings there, but half the time Domon doesn't appreciate Rain in the beginning. Yes, it was frustrating, but how Domon's character is, you know, is a bit arrogant, feels like he can take the world all on his own. As that kind of protagonist, I'm gonna do it all on my own. You know, as I said before, he needed a lot of support and guidance throughout this series. I think without that, he would have been a very irritating protagonist, I have to say. But also, without Rain, I think he would have been more annoying. But I loved Domon and Rain's, like, chemistry. Domon, when he was in his fights, those were great moments for him. His signature move, which we'll get to talking about in a minute, come to the Gundam fights, he knew how to, you know, raise the roof. So, and regarding the other characters, like all the side characters, they had great coverage. The series focused on each fighter, what their reasons were for being in the actual Gundam fight, because it goes more than beyond, oh, who's gonna end up being number one and be, you know, ruler of the entire universe. It went beyond that. And I really got to know, like, Domon's buddies. So the main fighters he ends up becoming friends with, which is Saishi from Neo China, Argon, who is from Neo Russia, George, who's from Neo France, and then Chibity Crockett from Neo America. Very, very lovable guys. Definitely Chibity was my favorite. He was just, you know, his technique was all about boxing. I love boxing. And he was just like, you know, life of the party. George, like, it's just hilarious when George's character was introduced. I'm like, really? You named him George? You know, George was, you know, had that regal finesse about him. And he definitely brought some sensibleness, like Rain, to the group. Diversity. Then we have Saishi, who's a kid. He's just fun, adorable. I mean, what else can I say about him? And then we have Argo. He's more of this, he comes across as the really cold and the serious type, which he is. But underneath, like, it's really actually, you know, warmed my heart, you know, his reasons for entering into the fight, more like he's forced to, he's actually a prisoner. Or when these guys came together in the end as a group, just a fun group to follow. And I thought the pacing of their relationship as it builds, because I thought, you know, these guys are just going to be, you know, fighters in the Gundam fight. They're never going to see each other again. No, there's something more to their progression towards being friends, which was nice. I did see it coming probably about a quarter of the way through. And as for like the other characters, like I thought all the characters in the series were really enjoyable. Characters definitely played a part in why I enjoyed this series a lot. And then we get to the plot, because I think the plot is my favorite thing about this series. And the fights, but it's mostly the plot, because as I said in the beginning, the plot will kind of throw you off. Then as you get into it, you do get to see, you know, the actual tournament arc. There is a tournament arc, but then right before that, there is like the big main part that happens. And then at the end, it's like, everything blows up. It's great. And, you know, this all revolves around, as I said, and then we get to, like, the Dark Gundam. Dark Gundam also plays a main center in the plot, and just, I'm going to insert a picture here, like, right now, of what this Dark Gundam is, because I've never seen such a deformed Gundam mobile suit in any series. Like, half the time seeing this thing appear, when it did, it creeped me out. At the same time as creepy, it brought definitely just some really twists in this plot that just like kind of made my stomach turn a bit. But it made it definitely fascinating. Dark Gundam, yeah, just
Gotta creep you out. For sure.
The plot was really, really solid. I felt everything flowed fairly well. Though I would have liked, because it's a 49 episode series, I would have liked at least make it 50. Like, give me an OVA. Because when I finished the series, I went to find out if there was a OVA. There was not. Sad face. It would have been nice to have like seen where everybody had gone, where they were in life. That would have been nice. But I think with the plot also, if we're talking 90s series, you know, some things are pretty, like, predictable, cliche. There's a few predictable things that happen. Particularly, you know, when Domo wins his fights and when he doesn't win his fights. Those sort of moments are very predictable. But that didn't really make me not like the series. Yeah, because when it comes to 90s series, you know, there's a lot of just cliche things that you know are going to happen. And one of the things that I loved that this series did was that the start of every episode, there is I'll call him a host in like a suit, and he's explaining like what's happening in the series. It's like Dragon Ball Z. Last time on Dragon Ball Z. It's kind of like that. It's like back then you would think, oh my god, yes, yes, yes. And when you're hearing it now, it's like, oh god, come on, we know what's gonna happen. But like, it got me revved up. So every time he would say, so Gundam, fight, ready, set, go! Back then, it added excitement for the episode. And it, you know, even if you were watching this as a kid, it would have been the most exciting thing you would see, like get you fired up. That was the whole point of it. So if you watch it now, it's like, oh god, really? Do we have to have this? I'll say G Gundam knew how to let itself loose and have some fun, because there's equally some funny moments in this series. Funny moments that are predictable, but the funniest of all was the famous attack in this series. So Doraemon's Gundam is known as Shining Gundam, and if you know 90s anime, it likes to be, I feel, outrageous and over the top. And it's exactly what you're going to get in this series. So every time Doraemon did his famous attack, which is known as Shining Finger, it just, every time you watch it, like you're waiting for it. You're waiting for the moment he's going to use his ultimate attack, and it's done in the most stupidest, ridiculous, like, epic way. That was what my intro was surrounded on, this. This right hand of mine is burning red and is telling me to grasp victory, and it is telling me to defeat you. And then it comes, the moment. shining finger, and just, I got swallowed up in it. I don't know how I could have not been swallowed up in the moment. But it's just, oh, it just made me laugh every time, but also made me like this. How you see me right now, just every time the attack came along, it got stuck in my head more and more. And even when Domon got his new Gundam eventually, gets another Gundam in this, it is just amplified 1,000 times. Oh, it's so funny. And yeah, it just gets stuck in your head. Speaking of like the actual mechas in this series, I enjoyed the fights like somewhat. I think I enjoyed the Gundam fights more like towards the end of the series. More. During the tournament arc, like yeah, they were enjoyable, but again, they were predictable in what the outcome was going to be. But at the same time, there was a few little twists along the way that made it interesting. But yeah, you just, like I said before, you know who's going to win, who's going to lose. It was just that time of era for 90s anime. Honestly, I can't say that the plot did not surprise me at all, because it did at a few turns. It really did surprise me. And again, as I said before, I love that about 90s anime for goddamn sure. It was enthralling to just, you know, watch the Gundam instead of participating in a war. Actually, it's like a street fight. So that's what makes G Gundam unique from all the rest, now that I know that. Finally seeing this series. Like, as a whole, like, G Gundam was great reminder for me and for anybody else who loves 90s in the unexpectation that you can offered by from 90s series. There's the over-the-topness, ridiculous, predictableness. Probably the animation, you know, if you watch this series now, which I know is out on Blu-ray. It's got the one of those Ultra Ultimate Gundam sets, which it looks beautiful, by the way, from Right Stuff. Or is it, no, sorry, it's Nozomi Entertainment that did it. Beautiful set. It'd be great to watch it in HD now. People might be bothered by, like, the animation back then, but there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, but I appreciate that. Like, I appreciated seeing this old school animation. I'll warn you guys, towards the end of this series, from episode 44 to 49, it made me cry. I put up a tweet saying, this is what this series is doing to me right now. Yeah, it made me cry. I didn't think it was going to be honest, but it did. But yeah, so in a nutshell, for G Gundam, it had a great solid plot, a lot of predictability, but that comes with 90s series. Definitely a lot of twists, bits that made me feel grossed out, bits that made me really happy. The characters were solid. They were lovable, likable. I didn't know how you could, even though you have a hot-headed protagonist. You had a female protagonist in here that kicked ass. Rain, I loved her. The romance element for Domo and Rain, I thought, was satisfying for me. In the end, it was, but there was some parts that wasn't. But still, I thought it was still a really sweet touch to the series, because I really wasn't expecting the series to even have a romance element. You know, Domo didn't appreciate Rain, and I thought it wasn't going to go nowhere, but then as the series goes along, it does progress. But again, Domo needed a lot of aid in this series. He was always too blindsided by his anger. Because, you know, Doremon definitely, by the end of it, I felt sorry for the dude. He'd already suffered through a lot of his life. And in the end, you do end up loving Doremon. And I did. So, yeah, it was funny. There was plenty of funny parts in this series that just made me cackle. Fun, ridiculous, love the atmosphere. The opening themes are going to get stuck in your head. Like, oh god, seriously, I can just think about it now. Fly the sky, ha, da, 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 da. It really gets stuck in your head. And also, the plot does not stick to the Universal Century timeline. It is a self-contained plot all on its own, and that's what makes it different from all the other Gundams that I've seen so far. I think Mobile Fight G Gundam is definitely a great series for people that are not a fan of mecha or Gundam in general, because I know people find that, you know, Gundam plots in particular can get really complex, especially on the political side of things. But I didn't find that with G Gundam, to be honest. It was really simple to follow. And I think out of all of the Gundams I've seen so far, I would definitely recommend to watch G Gundam above all of them, because it's the easiest to follow and it's different. It's like Gundam Street Fight. I didn't think I'd ever see a plot containing a Gundam Street Fight. I will definitely do a video covering at some point of reasons, you know, why should you watch Gundam as from a female perspective. I would definitely do a video on that. If you would like to watch Mobile Fighter G Gundam, you can definitely watch it on Crunchyroll. But look, let me know down below, have you seen Mobile Fighter G Gundam? Do you think it's different from the other Gundams? Also, let me know what's your favorite Gundam series, because I've still got so many to get through. I have no idea what the next Gundam series will be that I'll watch. I think it might be Origins to start from the beginning, because I really should watch Mobile Fight Origins and then Zeta Gundam. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talking about G Gundam, and maybe that made you happy that somebody is talking about old anime as well. All the linky links are down below. Highlight as well that, look at my shirt! Gundams! I didn't highlight that at the beginning of this video, but yeah, more than appropriate for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now!